So as we near the end of this book, and I hope you all enjoyed it, I certainly have. I just wanted to go over the last component again of challenges to implementation and maybe how school psychologists can help with challenges to implementation of multi-tiered systems of support. Through using your school psychologists effectively, you can save on time. You can really tailor to the needs of your schools in regards to addressing resistance to change in routine, as far as going from a refer, test, place model to preventative practice models such as multi-tiered systems of support. You can keep your special education funds replete, and you can address a number of other changes within your ranks in regards to special education teachers changing their roles to becoming more interventionists, and of course keeping their caseload of making individualized instruction more well-defined for students with disabilities. But let's focus on the school psychologists and how they can help out, because ultimately I think that they are going to be very effective in helping schools and community-based agencies and even state agencies go into and move forward with a preventative practice-based model. Under the old model of refer, place, test, school psychologist time, or 2/3 of school psychologist time, was spent on assessments and referrals, and they had approximately over 700 students per their caseload, and that is much the norm across the nation right now, with school psychologist caseloads being right around 1,000 to 1,500 to sometimes 2,000. I had 2,500 at one time in a previous school district. But I think that under multi-tiered systems of support, what needs to happen and what should be happening through your school district is 2/3 or more school psychologist time should be spent on implementing preventative-based practices, helping teachers with data-based decision-making, providing counseling and mental and behavioral health services to children. And of course, there's always going to be the time where school psychologists do evaluate. It just needs to be done in a much more comprehensive, individualized manner to address the specific needs of those students who are having difficulties. Under this model, school psychologists have 500 or 700 less, or less than 500 to 700 students, or even less than that, because if you really think of it, if you're in an urban school district or a very needy school district, the needs of the students may be calling for less of a caseload for the school psychologist to meet those students' needs in terms of mental and behavioral health services. Critical to the implementation of multi-tiered systems of support is the effective use of the school psychologists. We need to use our school psychologists effectively, not as testers. They were never meant to be testers. In fact, the basic components of all preventative practice models that I know of go back to Lightmer Whitmer in 1896 when he was a teacher. And Lightmer Whitmer was originally also the first school psychologist, and Whitmer said, hey, some of my students in my English class that I'm teaching are just not learning, and I can't explain why, and I think that I'm going to propose some interventions and try to monitor those interventions to see how students respond to this intervention. And that was basically the first start of preventative practice. And we, as a profession, unfortunately, due to federal regulations and misunderstanding for school psychology practice, as innocent as it was, led to us becoming a testing-based profession. But we always kept with us, and we always carried through us throughout the decades, even centuries, the idea that we are mental and behavioral health practitioners operating within a school system. And now more than ever, the federal government is recognizing that through the Every Student Succeed Act, and even calling us mental and behavioral health support professionals. So I think we need to be implemented as such, and administrators really do need to find a partnership with us, and I think that they do. I think we do have that partnership already, and school psychologists are ready to answer the call, as they always have, in being flexible and competent professionals who really want to work with students, children, teachers, state agencies, and community-based centers on implementing preventative-based practices that involve social, emotional, academic, and behavioral health supports. Under the model of multi-tiered systems of support, school psychologists' expertise is really called upon. This is just some of the areas of expertise that the Every Student Succeeds Act and multi-tiered systems of support could take advantage of, or you could take advantage of in your schools or community. data collection and analysis school psychologists are experts in, assessment, instructional support, crisis preparedness, family school community collaboration, behavioral interventions, research and program evaluation. Maybe you want to know about Road to the Code and what the evidence-based practices are for that. School psychologists certainly can research whether that's a good reading intervention for you to use for students, and whether it's an effective intervention for students, and how to implement that best within your school district by working hand in hand with your reading instructors. That's what we're there for, is to work hand in hand and be flexible practitioners. And that's what I think that a lot of us really do want to become, is flexible practitioners who are just as well known to any team and just as well part of any team as any teacher, as any reading teacher, as any special education teacher. And we need to be really leading the charge in that direction, especially with multi-tiered systems of support, as I really don't know any profession that has as much expertise in data collection, procedures, and education as it relates to education and psychology, and that happens just to be what a school psychologist is. There's a saying that goes, we are the educators who know the most about psychology. We are the psychologists who happen to know the most about education, and there's a lot to be said to that, and there's a lot of responsibility with that. So NYASP, or the National Association of School Psychologists, has really outlined a beautiful model for how school psychologists can be utilized effectively within multi-tiered systems of support as it relates to the Every Student Succeeds Act. And of course, this is a very comprehensive document, and I'm just giving you snapshots of it. You can find the rest of it in the book, which I have linked to, the National Associations of School Psychologists crosswalk. Also, feel free to contact me, and I'm sure I can locate some further information on how your school psychologist can be utilized more effectively. But this is just a couple areas. Effective, coordinated use of data that informs instruction, student and school outcomes, and school accountability. School psychologists can work with Every Student Succeed Act and multi-tiered systems of support to help schools and districts maintain its accountability by assisting in data collection, analysis, progress monitoring, and problem solving. And they also might help school leadership teams develop database targets for yearly school improvement goals. So, maybe we have students at the Tier 2 and Tier 3 level that we need to develop goals towards. School psychologists can work with the reading instructor to develop individualized rate of improvement goals that are needed for the student to meet their target by the end of the year, or by such and such a date. And if they're not meeting that target, it may be time to either change intervention or make a special education referral. Another area that school psychologists may be great at is comprehensive, rigorous criteria provided to all students. That's part of the Every Student Succeeds Act. School psychologists can work hand in hand in helping develop, integrate school-wide programming to promote social, emotional, and mental wellness for all students. Utilize culturally competent assessments to help set student goals, identify appropriate interventions, and measure progress towards those goals. Help school-wide programs based on the needs of the school community, and regularly provide professional development in services to school staff and families in regards to PBIS, RTI, social emotional support, and whatever you have. Another area is integration of comprehensive school and mental and behavioral health services. And school psychologists are great at providing mental and behavioral health services for individual students and groups of students. If used correctly, they can be great help. And we heard throughout our book, Dr. Donald Merriman and Don Catucci talking to us about DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, and CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, being used in the school environment, and what that looks like across the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels. And I would encourage every school to maybe seek out providing school counselors and school psychologists training in those areas, as it really does help us meet the needs of our social and emotional needs of students on all levels. Not just those most in need, but of all levels, as we can implement that at the Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 levels in various domains and in various ways. Schools psychologists can help implement wellness programs such as mental health first aid and social emotional learning in the classrooms, develop monitor universal mental health screening processes to identify students in need of mental health services. So again, school psychologists can, if the student needs additional support, as you heard Dr. John Kelly say, we can provide a lot of support within the schools, but school psychologists also like to link out to outside professionals that really want to lead the charge with us in providing mental health support, and maybe that's beyond our areas of expertise. And certainly we can work hand in hand with those mental health service providers, and we really do welcome that, and we really do want to work together with those professionals, medically and professionally, and throughout all the domains of learning, whether it be in the schools and outside the schools. As far as the Every Student Succeeds Act, use of evidence-based comprehensive learning supports, school psychologists can help schools conduct comprehensive needs assessments to develop strategies to address attendance, poverty, trauma, violence, and other barriers to learning. And all this would come into play in regards to helping students in your school or even in your community agency become academically and behaviorally and socially successful. School psychologists can collaborate with staff to provide school-wide instruction and develop counseling and mental health supports, as we talked about earlier. So, for more about the NYASP crosswalk and Every Student Succeed Act crosswalk and multi-tiered systems of support, you can find the link in the book. I've included a screenshot of the ESSA crosswalk and the NYASP document, or you can just go right here and type it in as well. But I do want to thank you folks for spending the time with me and taking the time to listen about the profession of school psychology and how it can help out multi-tiered systems of support. I hope and encourage teachers and administrators to open up those doors to provide a basis for communication and a framework for communication to occur about how to use your school psychologists differently rather than as testers, as they can be great and at leading and implementing multi-tiered systems of support and a great service to your staff. Thank you, and you'll hear one more time from me, and we'll be on our way. Thank you, and goodbye.